Welcome everyone in the AI Ready CMO Live. First ever live session that we do here. This is my second appearance on Live Substack, so excuse me if we fiddle around with the wrong stuff. Welcome, Kara Redman, on the show.
Thanks for having me. This is, I think, maybe the third or fourth content piece that we've done together, and it's always a lot of fun.
Yes, and I also love how unfiltered you are, so I hope that you will be super honest today as well. This podcast episode, if you are listening this episode on a podcast platform, is unedited, unscripted on everything, and I can guarantee you that it will be also unfiltered. So, and we have people joining regularly during this whole live session. Just FYI to everyone, I will interrupt after 15 or 20 minutes to answer the questions if you do have anything on the question side on the live chat. So if you are joining and you are doing the live chat, please feel free to ask us anything. We will answer it live during this conversation, but we are trying to converse better first. Yes. So let's talk about AI and marketing.
Let's do it.
What are you doing with AI in your marketing? You are running an agency.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to intro you in generally, but still, you are running Backroom, which is an agency in Baltimore. You work with a lot of clients, mid-sized and upper, I guess. B2B tech as well, probably. So they are very keen to optimize everything. And you have a team there. What are you doing with AI for your team and for your clients? Tell me a little bit. Elevator pitch, please.
So much. And it's interesting because a lot of inbound leads that we're getting right now too are getting directives from leadership. Hey, I'm supposed to be using AI and I need some help doing that. And that's kind of the broad directive because you can imagine so many of the C-suite are, reading about it and it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It's what, cloud was, when cloud came out, everybody needed to do it and they don't know how to navigate it. So we're helping with that. But on the internal side, it's been really powerful for us. So just to preface the type of work that we do, we work with brands of all sizes, including enterprise, global brands.
Cool.
Brand strategy and portfolio architecture is one of our key capabilities. So what I mean by that is...
tell me a little bit more.
We some of our clients we work with at the startup level, then they grow, then they eventually want to acquire other companies, right, to level up their capabilities. And we have to make decisions around what brand stays the platform brand, keeps the name, and which ones roll up into it. How do we manage that transition? What does the logo look like? How are we reframing culture and values? There's no churn. That's the type of work that we do. And then often they get acquired.
That's very high level, by the way.
Very high level, but it requires a remarkable amount of data on the market and perception and sentiment. That's work that would take us at a minimum 8 weeks prior to AI. Now we're able to, let's say we're working with a publicly traded company, I can go and scrape earnings calls transcripts and I can plug them into AI and have it analyze data to give us some specific signals around what we're seeing in the market. We're able to do much more robust competitor analysis using AI, especially if we have other tools available like social listening. We love to work with Sprout Social, for example. We can pull reports and put that in with client materials that they presented on past decks, any CRM data, notes from their sales team, all this stuff that we used to have to manually scrape through and use our brains, whatever shape they were in that week. We're now able to analyze better than we could. And so to me, the short answer is we use AI to do anything that it can do better than we could, and we still do the things that we do best.
Yes, and thanks for sharing, but I will all immediately go into the details if you don't mind. I understand that so for most of the client work, I think public data and public knowledge is easy to grab and easy to synthesize through AI. The problem starts when you need to look into the internal documentation, internal workflows, internal data of the client. So in order to do a high level of work like you do, which is amazing, by the way. Every agency would love to do only or mainly strategy for their clients, I guess, and not fiddling around with the social media updates and stuff.
Fiddling is a good word to use there.
Well, like driving and figuring out the strategy is always much more, I don't know, rewarding than doing the execution. And sorry if that hurts anybody's feelings who is running an agency, but the high level work is always more rewarding, at least to me. Um, Back to that, it's really hard to do quality work. That's what I'm trying to get to. When the client itself doesn't produce, or not because they are dumb or stupid or whatever, but just like the internal workflows that they have, it's not really AI ready, shall we say.
Mhm.
So problem starts with the data, I think. And it's easy to get the public data, but it's hard to get the client data. That's
It's
what I'm
hard to
trying.
get the client data, and when you do get the client data, it's important also to be very careful with it. And so one of the tenets we have
And that.
here, we are treating it as though every single client were in a highly regulated organization and treating it as though an attorney would. So there is a level of redaction, or what are the pieces that are most important? Because I think environmentally and just work wise, it can become very easy to go, I'm not going to think about this. I'm just going to upload everything and then see what it spits out. And
Oh,
the power, I think, is whether it's the outputs or the inputs, being really strategic about what you feed it, being careful about what you feed it, and steering it to analyze data rather than abdicate. And I'm really curious to see how it in my field, which is a highly creative and strategic field, because I think the middle is going to get squished, right? Because the same people that are kind of regurgitating and duplicating content online are like, oh, this is going to make me churn shit out even faster than the shit I used to churn out. So there's just going to be more volume of shit. But those who are really at a premium and being really strategic about what they're doing and actually have an IP and have
mhm.
methodology and have creative strategic thinking are going to be able to use tools to creatively think and critically think faster because of how it's um, synthesizing the information for us. So I think what the flip side of it, and what I think we all wish that it did really well and it doesn't, is it doesn't replicate human voice and human behavior very well, right? So as somebody who also offers service in LinkedIn personal branding and executive branding,
Oh,
I
yes.
wish, I wish I could,
Sorry.
right? But that's
Jesus.
it. It all just looks and sounds the same, and then you've got bots posting and
Yes.
then bots commenting on the bot. It's just a nightmare.
Yes. Yes. But that's an executional problem as well. One thing that actually, my wife mentioned it a couple of days ago, that she saw an AI output, and the AI output was that give users a map or
Mm.
something, doesn't matter the context. Um, and she said that, "Oh, this is how I know that everything is written by AI, by other consultants or whoever's, because everyone is trying to give you a fucking map
Mhm.
into your thing. That's what that's the language that the AI is trying to make you swallow. Um, and my argument is that it's really hard to do high level consulting work if you believe everything that the AI does or creates for you. So the question is, do you have any best practices or any examples or any, I don't know, frameworks, whatever, that you can share, that when you're creating client work for your work for your clients, strategic work, how do you make sure that it relates to them and them specifically, and it's not a generic consulting deck that you can ship with AI anytime?
I think there's two ways that I look at this, because I think it can be very dangerous to look at how can I get this LLM to understand my client and pass their information. You need a lens through which to pass that information. And for us, it's our IP. So I've spent 12 years this next month building an agency that has a very specific methodology for how we view brands. It has 10 different dimensions to diagnose. Like if you and I sat on a call, I could diagnose exactly where your brand is, therefore what service
Mhm.
we can provide. So that's my lens. And so then I know what questions, whether it's a sales call or a kickoff, if they've already signed, to understand what questions to ask them that are going to fit within the framework that I've already designed, right? So you can imagine
Mm-hmm.
12 years, all of these projects we've done have fit somewhere into this framework somehow. So I have a diagnostic tool. AI is just helping me do that better, right? It's going, okay, based on the answers to their questions and this intake survey and your kickoff call notes, this is what I'm hearing. And what I love about it is it's been able to give me not just the diagnostic scoring that I could do in the matrix I've always used, but it's also looking at the language that they use. If I put a
Mm-hmm.
trans and it's going, they use this word a lot that I might not have picked up because it's more of a softer nuance. So that's one way of thinking about it, is it's not just input from client and then output what it has. What are you looking for? And if you
Mm-hmm.
have a framework to tell you what you're looking to get out of the tool, AI is going to go wild and just give you whatever. And then you don't really have any guardrails for what you're building. You're just the middleman between a client and a robot.
Totally, totally. And how about your clients? So do they know that some of the I want to talk about a little bit more about AI transparency in a way that how you work with AI and how it's transparent for other clients. Do they know that some of the I don't know, like solutions or execution, whatever, is generated via or through AI? And well, probably follow question is that do they even care, or does someone care about that at all?
I
I personally think they don't. By the way, they do care about only the outcome, although some things should be defined in a sort of transparent way.
I think there's a I think that they would. I think if I had an output that was AI generated, yes. I think the way that
Hmm.
with AI is that it's helping us to do the discovery and data analysis in order to inform what we're recommending. So I think using AI to be prescriptive and doing creative work is not, I'm not saying it can't be done well. We don't do it well. And frankly, for me, it's the part of the work I enjoy. So I'm here. I kind of half joke. I just want my life to be waking up and checking on the robots every morning, but I also don't unless they're just doing, house chores. Um, so for us, we're not doing output work from AI.
Uh-huh.
We're doing the analysis to help us research and do discovery faster. So now a 3-month
Hmm.
project can be 6 to 8 weeks because I'm not spending 6 to 8 weeks doing as much research scraping as I would. And then of course, for any kind of output that we do, that's not AI generated. So that always, especially content, you can't lie about AI content. It's so
No.
bad.
Yes.
But you say
But that's
you don't think people would care, and I think it's an interesting conversation around disclosures and what we should ethically, as service providers, disclose in terms of how we're using AI and what we're putting into it.
Well, that's a totally different conversation, which probably not beneficial for two marketers to discuss. But
It's an important one, right? Because how do we wanna, end up in 5 years when we don't know what's gonna happen? I think it's, we can be very
yes,
individualistic and look at ways to get ahead, but at what cost?
uh, I personally have a very extreme point of view on this. I don't think that it will be. Well, currently not really, but with time it won't be too easy to distinguish the human and the AI element of the content output or any kind of work for that matter. So it's really challenging to define where the human starts and where it ends. Although I believe that some of the companies should discuss where AI is in the workflows, and I think how you right now explained that you use it mostly for data research, doing the research phase, which makes 100% sense. It's very important, but I do think that any service provider should have a document. I'm not selling document creation or something, but you just need to have something that's transparent, like a privacy policy, like a transparency policy,
Yeah, I think
similarly to anything like that. I think you mentioned it in one of the previous conversations that we had, that companies should be a little bit more transparent about at how they use AI in the first place for any kind of work.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, earlier you had even mentioned templating. And if, folks are using templates, I think it's a very
Yes,
good thing to disclose. I'm personally not a I wrote about this in my Substack a couple weeks ago. I'm not a big template person because I think it can get very just our industry doesn't allow for that one size fits all. My life's mission is to eradicate sameness. So templates don't really fit my vibe, but I think that's a really easy way to create transparency of these are the templates we use, these are the inputs you give us, and where AI fits within that.
totally. Although, again, unfiltered and critical thinking here. I worked with Weber Shandvik for a couple months and years, and also worked with Sapient agency, which both are very like enterprise heavy big thingies, network agencies.
I'm an ex
And
Weber Shandwick too. Did we not know that about each other?
I'm not sure. I worked in a Budapest office, but hello and welcome.
Hey.
We probably had the same email address.
Probably.
Um, anyhow, um, so I'm sure you know then that we actually did pitching for new work every week, and if you sum it up for a month, I think we did like tenders and pitches. I don't know, 10 or 20 per month or so. Um, Most of the pitches that we did were template driven. The whole pitch deck was a template in like how it was structured. Only a few ideas that went into like the unique ones or just repackaged ones. We couldn't sell it to Goodyear. Let's sell it to Starbucks. I don't know, kind of like that.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be honest here that most of the industry in agency land as well, you what the reason why you are not saying this, by the way, is that you are a smaller agency, not a network agency, and I'm not sure how much pitching you do, or competition to new work, but it's most of the work that we do is very template driven, I think, which is not good. I agree.
I think though, you bring up a good point though for doing things at scale. And I think even agnostic of AI, one thing that we've always tried to do as business owners, business leaders, is find where we are doing everything bespoke
Hmm.
every single time, but it doesn't have to be. And my team's always gotten on me because every single proposal, I'm like, I want to write it custom because I just had a great conversation. And they're like, we don't have to do this. And I'm like, but I enjoy it. And so being able to even take your internal documents and going, where am I doing the same work in 5 different ways each time? Can we templatize or standardize any of that? Because I think that the parts of our brains that we don't have to keep expending energy on to progress as a human or society or in our work, I love
Hmm.
to automate it, right? We all talk about how Steve Jobs wore the same outfit because it removed the decision framework in his mind every morning. So I subscribe to that. Where I tend to be cautious, and I'm not an early adopter of anything. I'm like, you all go first and tell me what I need to worry about. I won't call it a fear, but I'm very cautious of not abdicating my thinking because I
Uh-huh.
so, right? And so I have this vision of, oh wow, all of this stuff is so fast and easy. Let me just keep using the new tools and then a year not being effective at my job anymore. So
Hmm.
for me, it's very important to think about how do I worry less about the things that can be automated or standardized or templatized to allow me more creative freedom to work on the high level, big picture thinking, be in the room more with my clients, read more books, have more inputs for myself because I've now freed up this cognitive space.
And that's also an ever growing contradiction, I think, between AI and human in marketing, is that you can actually eliminate most of the human work with AI, but on the other hand, you will lose that uniqueness of their different point of views. for other type of work. Just like one example I wanted to share. I don't want to name the company yet, but we will write a case study on it soon to our audience. Is that one CMO just eliminated, like, I don't know, 10 or more people from their team, and they went back to 2 to 3 or something from 15. And one thing that was super important for them is to keep at least a couple of people who can, fight back, provide a different point of view, create a feedback loop or something like that. Not because that those people are, I wouldn't say, and that might be harsh, technically needed to do the executional work or any kind of work, just because the work that they do is kind of like unique in a sense that it has to be stay human. So you have to have humans at the workplace to get that point of view. Even though most of the work that they do still and could be done by AI. So I think it's an ever growing contradiction how to keep that balance
Mhm.
between human point of view and insane efficiency performance by doing all the workflows with bots and stuff.
Yeah,
How do
well,
you how do you solve that internally? I mean, did you, for example, that's like a very straightforward question, I guess. How many people you had in your company, and how many people you have right now? Not because client group or something, but like, have you eliminated any
we
roles
haven't
because of
changed
AI?
our no, we haven't changed our staff size at all due to AI, and I don't plan to. Um,
That's a good news.
it's a good yeah, it's good news. We've always been small though, so it's not like I'm running a, 300-person shop and I can now eliminate, 10
Still,
because of it. And because of the level of work that we do, right, is that high level thinking, so it's hard to replace. I don't wanna end up, at the end of that movie WALL-E, where we're all just like, fat in our recliners and the bots are doing all of the work. But, I just I think that there is a tricky balance for sure, and as my followers know, I've built quite a platform on my advocacy for remote work, mostly
mhm,
because of being flexible and not requiring these rigid roles to do work. Having said that, don't come for me, but I think that the people that are meeting in person without their laptops around a conference room table are going to have more meaningful dialogue than those of us who have the shortcut of vetting things through a chatbot first. And
yes,
and so I I think that there's as much as possible, I like to be in front of my clients and have the whiteboard and do the room. Number one, because that's just how I grew up and it's the old fashioned times for me. But there's just something magic that happens with that energy and the not knowing. If I can take everything that I'm afraid to respond because I'm not confident about my answer and filter it through chat, I'm not really having meaningful dialogue. We're just copying and pasting each other's conversations into chat. And it's not fun. You just feel, like, tired, right, the more you use
yes,
chat agents, and it's like, why is it so draining? It's, because number 1, I'm not really using any original thought, and 2, there's the human element. I've now stripped the human element out of this conversation out of fear of being wrong or something else. So, I think it's going to be interesting to see how smaller teams like mine, like, I'm more interested to see how truly strategic creative thinking
mhm,
are adapting to this in terms of their staff and headcount. I think it's obvious how enterprise is gonna react because they already have. We just saw what happened with Amazon a couple weeks ago.
mhm.
But I'm really
What do
curious.
you see, by the way? Sorry to stop you, but what do you see, by the way, there? So you speak a lot of, we speak with a lot of clients,
Mhm,
or would be clients,
mhm.
prospects. Um, do they really change because their staff and people internally due to AI? Because this is just a hunch, and again, we are reading a lot of stuff on the internet and on LinkedIn or whatever, and we know the studies and the stats and everything. Uh, I don't think that the change is that overwhelming or due to AI as people claim to be. Um, so there are not that huge of a layoffs or restructurings at all. People are just still catching up and stuff. That's what
Do you tell me why?
I
Because
feel.
Duolingo, Amazon, both were honest.
Yeah. Okay. Some of the companies were like forefront and did something, and I wouldn't. Well, like it's an unfiltered stuff. So I don't think that Amazon itself is um, a huge advocate of workers' rights anyway. Uh, so if they change the payroll and they claim it because of AI, I mean, I don't know. It's just an excuse. I think so. Most of the companies that they did that, it's more like an excuse. I see one thing clearly, that the hiring has stopped. So people are not that much get hired to the jobs, and that's also not like a black and white thing. Too, seniors and CMOs are still growing in hiring. The rest are not growing. That's what we see. But that's the hiring side. That's not the layoff side. So what I'm and I'm not talking with clients or prospects. We don't have clients or prospects. We have people within the audience, and we read the stuff that everybody reads. But you do actually speak with people. So what do you see? What do you get without breaching any NDAs and stuff?
Of course. First, I want to say that's an interesting perspective because the pandemic was an excuse too. Remember, everybody
Yeah, I know.
last layoffs, they're like, "Oh, pandemic." It's like, or did you just, over project your earnings last year?
Yes.
Um, yeah, we talked to a lot of folks in different business sizes,
Hmm.
um, and it's still from the conversations that we're having, it's very still much discovery. So it's not, hey, here's the way we are moving forward in stride with AI, and therefore what we're doing. It's, hey, leadership says that I need to automate and scale my sales workflow with my whole enterprise sales team using AI, and that I should be using chat inputs, and that's as
Hmm.
far as they've gotten, right? So it's senior levels reading things
Oh,
online.
sorry for laughing, but yeah.
No, it's the appropriate response here. This is the shit that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. And so our job is to redirect that to what would success actually look like? Because you're not going to go and pay us all of this money to teach you how to put inputs into your sales workflow and just regurgitate shit out to your prospects. That's not a fun way to work. So it's very much, we know this is a thing. We know it's coming. We know we need to stay ahead. We're lost. We're bombarded with all these tools. We don't know which ones to use. We don't have a year to demo a bunch of stuff and figure it out. A lot of times leadership, especially in larger, more enterprise companies, don't really have visibility into how their teams work and what their workflows are. So our job is to figure out, where are we just adding more tools to scale broken systems versus how can we use these tools in bite-sized way and lockstep with improving these workflows and systems. So
Absolutely.
the ones that want to just throw AI on top typically are the ones who haven't really thought a whole lot about their operations and how their brand's showing up, and they're just jumping on the next thing. So if we can use that as leverage to help them have bigger impact on the brand level, then we will. But if it's, hey, can we just pay you to regurgitate a whole bunch of content out for us using AI? Like, that's not the vibe here.
And how do you do yourself internally with your team? Can you or care to share anything? Do you have any practices that you do with your team that you know help them to stay? Oh, that will sound super cheesy, but help them to stay a little bit AI ready in the game, or everyone is just figuring out on their own, and because you hired smart people anyway, it just works out.
I'll allow the AI ready comment because I said synergies earlier, so we're now even. Um, I I let my team do what they need to, but also give budgets to try different tools.
Uh
Um,
huh.
so we cross share when we learn something that's beneficial. But our tools and systems are pretty, I won't say rigid, but we're very process and workflow driven, which is how we get
Hmm.
started as a small team.
Right. You're a small team. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Yeah. So I would say that we already run a pretty lean, green machine in terms of the tools and systems that we use. But things like using Claude and Gmail integrations, for example, are
Uh
really
huh.
strong. Like the integration tools that we have, like our team will use to distill information. Um, Outside of that, I mean, we haven't found a lot of things that have made us work faster on internal processes, but just the research and data synthesis for our actual client work is where we found the most lift. I mean, I've even tried, I have a big content engine on my personal LinkedIn and Substack and my newsletter, right? Like I do a lot of content each week and I do brand partnerships. I haven't found a way to make it meaningful even for that outside of understanding my brand, my voice, and being able to put creator briefs in to help me come up with content angles. But even then, I'm reworking 8% of it. So I'm very
Well,
particular.
I think that's normal. For real, I think that's normal.
Yeah.
Especially if you're well, I know what content you are putting out. It's very personal, point of view driven, professional too, obviously, but you are very on yourself everywhere, I guess. Very
Well,
relatable.
it feels like a betrayal too, right? Because
Why?
transactions feel very sacred to me, whether it's a client paying me money or somebody following my content or sending me a note. And I've built this platform in a way that feels real to people because I've been myself and I've shared my point of view and the good, the bad, the ugly in a way that I would speak to anybody and the way that I feel is real for myself because it's sort of a diary, right? If I start looking at ways to optimize that and strip my voice and my real experiences, it feels like lying to people that they followed me for a reason and now it feels like a bait and switch. So I it's very important to me to maintain my voice and how I show up in the world.
Hmm.
And if AI can help me pressure test, for example, I love Shield. Shield is my analytics tool
Uh-huh.
on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's able to pull a ton of past data on all my posts to say like, "Hey, this
Yes.
is something I wanna share. What's a way it might resonate?" It becomes a more of a brain trust than, "Hey, give me my March posts and I'll
Mhm.
just copy and paste them in." Do you know what I mean?
Yes, but I also mean that clients subscribe. Well, in business world, we think that it's all about case studies and retainers and pricing tables and whatever. It's marketing, so clients usually sign up for the
Mhm.
founder, for the personal whoever who is presenting at the pitch. Yeah, the case studies help and capabilities and decks and the pricing is right too, very nice. But it's a personal thing to do, especially if you are signing up especially what you are doing. By the way, back to the original point of the conversation, that you are providing high level strategic work for the clients on the brand and everything, not like, I don't know, writing their I don't know, Twitter accounts or whatever. I don't know that if that would be anything wrong with that, but if you are doing brand related work, it's very personal
Mhm.
uh, for the CMO on the client side, I think, because that's them. That's what they actually do all the time, protecting it and developing it.
Agreed, and this is gonna sound really woo-woo and froofy, but that's just how I am. Because I love data, and I love the data capabilities in the future of what we're gonna be able to do with data. But when I'm working on a brand project, whether it's a personal brand or an enterprise brand, it's just a feeling I get, like,
Yes.
there's
No, that's true.
I just feel that the brand needs to be that I think, people will ask, like, "Well, how would you scale Backroom? Like, if you wanted to exit, what would be?" I'm like, "I don't know, because it's my vibe." And if I'm off one week, I might reschedule a meeting with a client because I want them to be able to get the vibe that I have, and I don't know how to train on that, and it's what's made me successful before I found ways to standardize things, is I just have good gut feeling about directions places can go. Now, on the data side, I think what's really exciting for me, that's truly the only area so far I've been excited about AI, because I want to be able to give my clients the opportunity to understand market conditions within 48 hours rather than 2 months. And
Uh-huh.
to be able to
Speed.
say, "Hey, I have a new product idea," and being able to go and scrape publicly available data, aggregate it, synthesize it to give me exactly the data points I want to be able to predict whether or not they'd be successful. And that's what we're working toward at Backroom, and the way we're looking to scale ourselves is through those types of tools, not by adding human capital to our team. And to me, it's exciting because I'm able to, be a good little strategist and be like, look what I found, look what we can do, right? And do it really quick without charging them tens of thousands of dollars like we've had to in the past.
Or you do actually sell these kind of intelligence services to the clients? Sorry
Yeah.
to jump into the portfolio that you do exactly, but I'm really curious because it's really the reason why I'm curious is that it's really hard. No, let me back up. So when you're a client and you're working with an agency, one of the problems that clients usually face is that agencies are slow. Their response rate is slower to whatever else because they work with many other clients as well. Obviously, now with AI, it's obviously changed, so you can be a little bit more speedy. But like day-to-day intelligence that you are selling to the brand, I mean, how are you doing that? Tell me if
So
you can,
yeah, so there's
because that's like extremely speedy, right? So it's like it's really hard to do, I think.
it's hard it's hard to do if you're trying to do everything. And so there's two sort of lanes for this. There's the upfront discovery to
Hmm.
understand how to shape their brand. That takes a
Yes.
long time. That's
Well,
surveys,
that's the
interviews,
foundation, I guess.
focus
So
groups, secondary research, pulling in additional tools, brand watch, talk walk, or all of that, right? Like figuring out what data you need, what tools to use, setting them up, putting the inputs in, letting them aggregate the data. That takes a long time. And we just always
yes,
set the expectation with our clients, like based on what you need. Like it's minimum 6 to 8 weeks before we have recommendations for you, right? It just takes a
which is, by the way, still a short period of time
over.
compared to whatever consulting gig that you did before AI. Yes,
Exactly. I mean, like, in bigger agencies I worked in, it was sometimes an upwards
that's
of
like
12
months or
months.
years.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
it was a long time. So we're able to get and we do it iteratively too. So then once we have brands into our retainer, we've done the upfront work, we're doing ongoing performance monitoring. And depending, again, on the data we're looking at, we can use different tools or we're running surveys. There's NPS scoring that goes into that as well. And we're doing that in either a monthly or a quarterly format where we know just the data that we need. But we use that entire upfront discovery period to set up the infrastructure for that reporting.
of
And so
course.
what we want to do now is have something more proprietary where we can put the inputs in, aggregate the data, and have that synthesis layer on top of it. But right now that's somewhat of a pipe dream. We're kind of figuring out how that would work. so, um, but it's I think it's where the world is going, and I think it's going to be I think having the ability to pull that data at aggregate with agents with the premium layer of the consulting work that we do on top of it, that's what we wanna be
That
focusing on.
that's amazing. And how do you? No, for real. I'm an agency nerd, so I always go deep dive on these. How do you solve the account management issue? So I don't think that what you just described here it's that of a huge challenging problem to solve with AI, with the right mindset, right workflows, right foundation that you do. Um, the only issue that I personally see, but maybe I'm wrong, is the account management issue. So let's say the client asks you to whatever information that they need. Do you have like a dedicated person who interacts with that client, or how does that work? Or can it be, or should it be automated in a sense that the client just puts in the data to a machine that you built around the brand, and you're already shaking your head. So please explain.
This has been discussed and thought through quite a bit.
Ah, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
because
I thought so.
yeah.
That's not scripted, by the way, but yes.
No, no, and, my friend Mikhail at Funalytics and I have talked about this quite a bit recently around, like, software with a service versus software as a service.
Yes.
Because to me, that's the benefit. You get the IP, you get the input because you work with us. I don't want to sell a standalone tool. Number
Hmm.
one, because it pulls away from our value, being able to provide the analysis. And two, I don't want to
Yes.
compete with some of these, Series B huge companies that are,
Hmm.
doing really amazing stuff and have more resources than we do. It's just not an interest of mine. So yes, it's an account manager. So the same person who's working on your account now, is the person who's creating that reporting,
Who is a human being?
who's a
R-
human being, a kind and loving, wonderful human being. who I respect, right, is working on the account, and they're able to look at it from like, for example, if a client was doing it, we said, here's your playbook and what you put in and get out every month. Who's telling them when that data is no longer relevant? Who's telling them when it's like, okay, the market's changed, or here's something that we're doing with another client that we didn't really think about, a year ago when we started working with you, and we want to put this data in and look at it differently. So the value is in the human discernment for what data is important and what those frameworks look like versus how to use a plug and play tool. At this stage, I can't predict the future. At this stage, I think it's very dangerous to template any of that without the
Mhm.
human thinking because the data becomes moot.
Yes. Sorry, I loved everything that you said. And if you're like a junior marketer and you're worried about your job is getting taken by AI, I think it's important to know that maybe agencies won't scale too much on execution because AI will solve that part anyway. So you probably don't need to write social media posts all the time. Um, but if you have innately great people skills, you can become a great account manager um, who can work with the clients on the long term because you can scale the execution and the data part, as you said, probably infinitely with the tools right now. But you still have the scaling problem on the human side with the account management involved. And I think you're making the right decision to not toolify that.
Yeah,
That's
and my prediction, and I think this is not unique by any means, is every day that goes by, humans and relationships matter more and feel more premium.
yes.
And I think the more, and I, this is not I don't want to seem like I'm, bashing people who just regurgitate AI content because I think the intent is real. I think that people genuinely don't know that Ruth Chris is not the best steak. And I think that some people don't know that the content they just had AI create for them isn't good. I think they think it's good. And I think that there's a market for mediocrity, and there always has been. If you just drive east to west through middle America, you're
Mhm.
And I think that it just is gonna be another format for mediocre crap on the internet. And so I I don't think it's ill intent. I don't think people are trying to, get rich quick. I think that discerning taste, creative taste, style have always been premium, and there's no tool that's really gonna be able to replicate that well, at least in the short term. And so I tend to not be very scared when people are like, "Oh, is AI gonna take your job?" I'm like, "No, I'll wait. I'll I'll wait because it can't do anything to my standards yet that I create for my clients." And so I think for those people who are looking for how to use AI to improve, if you're not doing premium outputs now as a human, go do that well first and then find ways to help have AI support what you're doing. It is not a shortcut. If you already can't create anything meaningful, it isn't going to fix that for you. It's just going to give you tools to do ugly shit at scale. Do you know what I mean? And I say that with love. Go perfect your craft. And it might not be a creative craft, and that's okay. Do something else. But I think that this idea that we're going to be able to replace what we're doing creatively in the short term, I don't see it happening. I see the relationships and the human element of it, real people being able to like smell, touch, feel people and have something real said, like unfiltered, like you said, I think is the premium.
I'm gonna stop this episode here because this monologue was insanely great. I don't think that we can replicate more. Do you have anything else to say? I 100% agree everything that you said, and we published many articles on our platform about taste and the inherently important fact that taste will matter for marketing. And even though I'm also a little bit more skeptical and pessimistic about mediocre content as well, like yourself, and there will be a market for that, that's true. I hope that at least we will work on on a different market. So
I
where huh?
I will just say that I hope that what happened on social is what happened with Google in the year 2000, where it used to remember just like shit results at the top, and they
Yes.
figured out how to have the cream rise to the top. And I have to believe
Oh,
for my
that's true.
soul,
That's a good idea.
right? I have to believe it's going to get filtered out because there's so much manual work to go through it. Um,
That's a good idea.
so we'll see. But I think that people underestimate how much work it is to do the input part to form a point of view, and they
Mm-hmm.
want to do output. So having the ability to stop and form a point of view, having really good conversations like you and I are having, listening to people reading stuff, thinking about it critically, that's where you form your point of view. Then the content's the easy part.
Yes. You have to have self-reflection, I think, first. You have to understand what you're trying to have a point of view for. But that's a whole another
That'll be part two.
discussion. That will be part two. How to form a point of view that matters and can be sold as marketing content.
Mhm.
Uh, well, actually, that's a good, good topic to discuss. Anyway, where people can find you aside from this live podcast episode that we did right now.
I'm
Drop the links,
everywhere.
please.
LinkedIn, of course, is a great place to find me. My DMs are open. And then, of course, on Substack here, I write every single week a pretty large essay on things that we're working on in brand marketing at Backroom with templates that we use and how-tos. That goes out every Saturday. So those are two places to stay connected to me.
Amazing. We had around 20 people joining live, by the way. I'm giving everyone the last chance to have any questions. And then I will end the live recording. We don't have questions. People are afraid to ask questions. No.
Everybody's cold.
um, huh?
Everybody's cold. It's winter. Give people a break.
Everybody's cold and winter. Cool. If you have any questions later on, this episode will go out on both of the newsletters and platforms. You can form your questions there or chat or comment or something like that. Cool. Thank you very much for your time. That was an inspiring conversation.
Thanks, Peter. We always have fun.
Good to see you again.
You too.
Ciao.